you want to throw indoors and not worry about ricochets, or want to cosplay as a
Pokemon Yoni,
do I have the DIY project for you? Here's how I made my Naruto-inspired kunais. The key to an indoor throwing kunai is a wooden dowel and a glue-on arrow field point. I bought 12 field points on Amazon for $8, and the 8mm size will fit over a 5/16 inch dowel. However, in my testing, I did slightly better using a wider 3/8 inch dowel. So I placed my 3/8 inch dowel in a drill and sanded down the tip to fit the smaller 8mm field point. Using the high heat setting on my glue gun, I pumped some glue into the point and pushed in the dowel, holding it there for about 1 minute. If the tip ends up being crooked, you can remelt the glue using a heat gun or hot water and reposition the tip. Once the glue cooled down, I removed the excess. For my plate kunai, I prepared an extra dowel without a glue-on point. To make the octahedron blade, I first made a pattern on cardstock. Here are 5 prototypes with different lengths and widths. I like the size of my 4th prototype. This is how I made it. I folded a sheet of cardstock in half and drew a line down the fold. 4 3/4 inches down, I drew a line perpendicular to it. 1 1/4 inches down that horizontal line, I drew the longest side of the triangle. I used this as a reference to make several other folds. It's like folding an airplane, and the end result should look like this: 4 triangles radiating from a central point. On the outer lines, I marked a point 4 3/4 inches down and connected this point to the center fold. To make the bottom of the octahedron, I used a compass to make a 2-inch arc below each triangle section. Here's where I messed up. I'm marking the wrong point, which is why I should have erased this bottom line earlier. Where the arcs intersect, draw the remaining sides of your triangles. Next, cut out the pattern. I wanted to see how well this pattern matched my original, and to my horror, it did not. The pattern should fold up into an octahedron shape. If it doesn't, fold it in half and see which triangle is askew. I then taped one of the triangles I had cut out earlier onto my pattern, and it fit perfectly. I placed my pattern on cardboard, making sure the corrugation lines were vertical. Then, I poked holes at each corner of the pattern using my awl. I then connected the dots with a ruler and sketched a large tab on the top part of the kunai and smaller tabs on the bottom triangles. These tabs will help with gluing. I cut out the cardboard piece and scored each line using my utility knife. To help fold the kunai, I pressed in the folds with my tweezers and then used those same tweezers to remove the cardboard from the tabs, leaving only one layer underneath. The throwing kunai will not work if the tip is covered by cardboard, so I marked about 1/4 inch below where the tip ends and cut that part off. There's a gap when closing the kunai shell because the dowel takes up space, so I marked a second point where the gap ends. From that point, I ripped off the 2 inner triangles to make room for the dowel. I also removed the bottom tips of the smaller triangles to make room for the dowel handle. If you're making a play kunai, which is not meant for throwing, you follow the same steps, but you don't need to expose the tip or make room for the top of the dowel. You can start hot gluing the shell together, making sure the kunai is centered within the octahedron blade. Next, for my throwing kunai, I hot glued the octahedron shell, making sure the arrow point was exposed. Then I held the kunai in my hand to determine how long the handle should be. For me, a 2 1/4 inch handle is snug and perfect. The easiest way to cut the handles is to use bypass pruners. To make the kunai ring, I took 3/8 inch strips of cardboard and wrapped it twice around my thumb. I got 6 inches and added 1 inch to that for the play kunai. The longer length works better for a poster board, which I'll show later. I hot glued the rings so that they were 2 layers thick and then taped it to the end of the handles using duct tape. I then took strips of duct tape and wrapped it around the ring. If you're painting the ring, to match the color of your blade, wrap the ring in masking tape. To prepare the kunai blade for paint, I wrapped mine in cardstock and hot glued it on. When it's done, it resembles a kunai ice cream cone. Then I cut down each section, folded these up, and proceeded to hot glue and fold over the cardstock, cutting off the extra pieces. Then I removed cardstock from the tip to expose the arrow point. But because there was a gap, I added masking tape to smooth out the transition from octahedron shell to arrow point. If you don't want to paint, you could follow the same wrapping procedure using poster board. The downside is if you crease poster board too much, it breaks the top layer and leaves these white creases. Plus, if you damage the surface, you can't touch it up. So I only use poster board for the play kunai and not for the throwing kunai. To cut for the ring, I traced out the shape on poster board, cut it out, and hot glued it on. I don't think it looks very pretty or is as comfortable as my other rings, but it works. I then used sports tape to wrap the handle of the kunai, and the play kunai is ready for its top coat. I painted the throwing kunai yellow and coated the gold play kunai with super gloss brilliant Mod Podge. I added some water to it until it had the consistency of paint and painted it on. The Mod Podge gives it a glassy, wet look, which also makes it more durable. I didn't like how my yellow kunai had a noticeable gap in the cardstock. I fixed this with a thin piece of masking tape and then painted over it. After 3 coats of paint on the yellow kunai, it was ready for handle wrapping with sports tape. I added 2 coats of the Mod Podge. For my last kunai, I wanted to try out this pink duck craft tape. I thought this would eliminate the step of wrapping the kunai in cardstock, but unfortunately, this tape is sheer like cellophane. Here are some samples, and I think the pink over the white cardstock looks best. I timed myself while I made this kunai. Turns out, it takes about 1 hour to get to the step before painting. It probably would have gone faster if I hadn't burned myself with my hot glue gun. And then it took me another hour to wrap the kunai in pink craft tape, which probably would have gone faster if I hadn't burned myself with my hot glue gun. I thought wrapping it in tape would have been quicker and easier, but I had to worry about wrinkles, and I had to wrap the blade in multiple layers for it to look solid pink. Even though the craft tape was harder to apply than paint, it is my favorite kunai to look at. I took it outside to show you how it has a green shimmer in the light. That is not a filter, that is for real. Butterflies in the back? Real. Housefly that's on the kunai? Real. It's so pretty. My second favorite kunai is the one I wrapped in iridescent poster board, and my third favorite is the metallic red poster board, although the ring doesn't look that great. The Super Gloss Mod Podge, though, gives it a red lip gloss look, which I really like. Here are my daughter's throwing kunais, which remind me of the Power Rangers. The blue one on the stand has a gnarly hole on the bottom from a direct hit, but it doesn't bother me, and I could always patch it with some cardstock if I wanted. Here are my more realistic Naruto kunai. I recommend gunmetal metallic paint to get that dark gray color. If you'd like to learn more about how I came up with the design of this throwing kunai, I'm hoping to post another video, hopefully with a tutorial on how I throw them. These throwing kunai are really light, so they aren't the easiest things to throw. But being able to throw them indoors and not worry about ricochets damaging your house makes up for it. Here's some extra footage. Enjoy! Try doing spin throws? Hold the ring.
No, I'm not doing that.
Go ahead. Hold my what? Look a little closer, girl. Oh my goodness. The target's right there. It's gonna be harder when you're sitting.
No, it's going to be easier.
No, it's not. Once you get the right distance, you can get it to stick. Whoops. Whoops.
What?
Whoops. 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 I think you should do full spin. And oh, hey, what'd you do to me? Jinx me. Oh my god. Oh my god. What happened? No. No. Oh. Oh.
It's ready to go.
Oh. Out of my way.
This is the finale, really.
Oh no.
The finale.
The finale is not good. Oh, I got bumped by the wall. The wall hit my butt. I'm gonna get all of them. No!
I'm ready now.
No! You're like, Mom, you're doing worse. Yay! I did it! Woo! What are you?
A Pokemon Yoni.
Show me what you got. 2 kunais.
Oh. I like practicing with these because if I throw them with the poison on them, it will look like blood.
Okay. What else do you have? Your weapons pouch.
But if somebody tries to steal it,
Trick.
because my other weapon is...
Oh, a karambit. Very nice.